Welcome, Igor, to the Data Science Conference Europe. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I hope you've been enjoying your time here so far. So getting straight into the question, as someone coming from the domains of film and fine art, how does the field of game development resonate with you? And how did you actually find yourself in this situation of building and envisioning entire digital worlds?
It happened by accident. My friends are engineers, and as I was building a career in contemporary art, we made two video games that were kind of experiments. For example, one game was shown at a biennial in Frankfurt. The point of the game is you run a factory where children make toys, and you have to beat children to be productive. And that was shown in the art world. But then a couple of years later, my friends said to me, your artsy-fartsy stuff, that's all fine, but try to come up with an idea that has some commercial potential. And that's how I come up with Golf Club Wasteland, which jump-started the whole world building that now spans 3 different video games.
And going a bit further on the world building, where do you see the most potential for employing creativity when it comes to game development?
I think that pretty much is unchangeable through time. It ends up being storytelling. They, for example, talk about AI being able to churn out film scripts, which is interesting. But it will end up being a way to de-risk making films for the general market, because you see what works, you put in the data, what works, and you do more of the same. But if you look at the history of storytelling, that ends up being the core. What are the characters that you get attached to? Where is the love for the world, this fictional world, how that fictional world relates to problems we might have in the real world. So creativity ends up boiling down to the same thing from Homer.
And you co-founded a studio, Demagog. So what are the approaches that you take in this regard?
So the first game, a Golf Club Wasteland of Demagogue Studio, is about the 0.1% of the ultra-rich, your Jeff Bezos, your Elon Musk, who evacuate to Tesla City on Mars while we are all dead. Because of a climate catastrophe. And years pass, and they come back to Earth to play golf in the ruins and over our dead bodies. So that was Golf Club Wasteland. I pitched it directly, amongst other companies, to Apple, and they liked it because it's an inside joke for Silicon Valley as well. And that jump-started the world we're building. Now, the main vehicle for storytelling is the radio program in the game, called Radio Nostalgia from Mars, for people who now live on Mars but miss Earth they left behind. So we have music that we build in-house from 2070 and 2080. And we also have people call into the radio program to share memories of their past life on Earth. Kind of like Sleepless in Seattle with Meg Ryan, but in the future that is really fucked up. And that was the first project. And now we're doing 2 more games. The Cub, which also has Radio Nostalgia from Mars as the in-game radio. And High Water, which is a prequel about people living in a flood zone who are trying, in the week before the launch for the evacuation to Mars, they're trying to enter the rocket. So they're poor people, and the rocket is only for the rich. So the question is whether you'll be able to make it and emigrate to the promised land on Mars.
Those are quite thought-provoking, I think, approaches as well. And how do you use art to create new value in the digital domain?
Depends what you mean by new value. In terms of our company, the new value comes from this approach that already is entering the mainstream, even from the perspective of investors in business, which is owning an intellectual property that can spread out regardless of which medium you're interested in. So a good example is Marvel. It can be games, it can be cinema, it can be series, it can be animation, it can be toys, and so forth. So we have that kind of sprawling approach where we're building a world, but on YouTube you can also watch clips. We have animated short films up on YouTube, so you don't even have to engage with the game. Or you can just download. I know people who just download the soundtrack and it helps them go to sleep. So that is the new value in terms of the business, because we can monetize the music, we can monetize scripts that we want to develop for a series and so forth. And we can also shift between gameplay. Some people want to play the platformer, they will play the cub. Some people like turn-based tactical thinking, they will play High Water, our other title. So you can reach more people that way. And you can fit the gameplay to these different stories. So that is the new value in terms of the market, in terms of creativity. The new value is no one has really done this to this extent where all of the content is created in-house. We didn't outsource the music. A sane person would simply license other people's music. Well, we handle all of that. We even handle payments in the future in the back end for all of our music collaborators. So we don't even do buyouts because we want to be fair and all of the people to have a stake in this world we're creating.
That sounds quite exciting. And now going on the back end and talking a bit more about the technology, how do you see the notion as an artist of data? And does it play a role in your creative process and in Demagog's creative process?
So anything that lessens the friction in my interaction with the tech is great, because I just use email and Word. If I can, for example, we use Unity as an engine. So if I can enter Unity and basically direct the scene, like here we have these two cameras. In Unity, I would build this, or someone would build this scene, and I could choose the lenses and set up and place the digital actors. So less friction. And in that sense, data, we don't use data in a classical sense. They use it in mobile games to track user behavior. But we use it to some extent in the art. If it's not non-essential, so for example, collectibles in our game, we have a bunch of newspapers, Alphaville Post, which is a pun on Washington Post, which is owned by Bezos, in our game by Jeff Bezos. And every newspaper has a different cover, and we need to have cover images. There's no time to create all of that artwork. So we would just plug and play different AI tools and pick out the interesting images.
That you touched upon a good point there. Art and technology have been influencing each other for centuries now. So really shortly, how do you see technology and data influencing art in the decades to come?
Whenever there's a breakthrough in technology, for me, it simply unearths the actual role of the artist. It's not, the artist will never be in danger. It's simply, in the talk I had here, I talked about the most important artwork of the 20th century, which is the urinal for pissing by Marcel Duchamp. So the possibilities are boundless. So if it turns out the AI makes more interesting images than some painters, fine. Painting isn't interesting for the last 100 years. So it simply pushes the boundaries of creativity, of smartness, of new possibilities, and makes us better.
Yeah, those are quite some insights into the world of technology and art. It's a pleasure to have you here at the conference, and it's a pleasure for you to give this interview. So I do hope you enjoy your stay here and that you keep enjoying the conference, and to have you next year. Thank you.
Take care. Welcome to the Data Science Conference in Europe. My name is Igor Simic. I'm the CEO of Demagogue Studio. Let us change the world through data.